video is part of December's 5 Under 5 playlist. The theme is Ornaments, and I will tell you a little bit more about it after the first project. Ornament number 1 is snowflake dangles. We're going to make 2 snowflake dangles here, one silver, one gold. I purchased the larger snowflakes at the thrift store, the medium-sized one from Dollar Tree, and the little ones from Amazon. I'm going to be using the Dollar Tree glitter, and I'm just going through all my snowflakes, trying to decide which ones to use. Turns out I did have 2 the same of the small ones, so I was able to do them exactly the same, except for the coloring, which I will add on later. So I'm going to glove up here because I want to hold on to these and get a good coat on them. And then I like to do the glitter right away on the wet paint. And I'm going to let it sit for a little bit. I'm not going to tap it off right away. And then go on to the other small one. I'm going to do the same thing with the gold glitter. And then on to the medium-sized one. These are going to get a little coating of faux snow and then glitter on top of that. So what happens is if the snow falls off, it's just like a light dusting of glitter, and it's really pretty. And again, I'm going to leave that on for a little bit. Now, I did not realize how yellowed those bottom snowflakes are, in comparison to the ones I'm doing here right now. But they're going to look really, really good in just a second here. All right, so I did tap off the glitter finally. I'm going to go ahead and paint the last ones, the bottom ones. These are a little bit larger than your regular ornaments, but I have a lot of small ornaments on my tree, so I'm going to do most of these ornaments I'm doing are a little bit bigger than usual. And I was going to save that glitter, but it got mixed in with all the snow, and I just decided to toss it out. I didn't have to throw out too much, so I didn't feel bad about that. Now, I have some pretty gold string that I'm going to use on the gold one, but I didn't have any silver, so I thought maybe using wire would do. I mean, it got them connected, but I didn't like how stiff it was, and didn't like how hard it was to get it through the holes and find a place on the snowflake without the holes. So if I was to do it again, I might even just use some twine or something. But, I mean, I got it together, and you see me doing the gold here now. It just had like a random remnant of gold string. And I just tied it in the back, and I did a little dab of glue so the knot would move around. Get my glue gun warmed up here. It actually takes 15 seconds to warm up, so you literally warm it up at the last minute. I love that about it. It doesn't necessarily work the first couple of pumps, so I always do like a little pump on my craft paper or whatever. And see, just a little dab there on the back to put down the string. And how pretty. Better look at the final reveal. Jumping in with a little bit more information about the playlist. It happens every month on the 5th at 5 Eastern. You are to create 5 projects that cost $5 or less to make. Our host is Emily from Farm Charm Chic, and our guest host is Aria from DIY with Aria. Their channel links, as well as a link to the playlist, will be in my description box below. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of the video. Ornament number 2 is a perched cardinal. Now, I did forget to mention the first ornament probably only cost a few dollars if you were to recreate it. All my ornaments are made from what I have in my stash. So I shop from my stash, and then I look through my stash to create a project. So this one as well, $1.25 for the bird, and then just, you know, a little bit here and there for things I already had, which include the hoop and the string. And then just, you see I have a bag there of just like arrangements that I've pulled apart and saved. So first things first, we're going to wrap the hoop. You can wrap it with ribbon. You cannot wrap it at all. You can wrap it with thicker rope. This is kind of like, it's not like twine, it's just a little bit thicker. And I thought the rope, the rustic of the rope, would look nice with the cardinal. And actually, the cardinal came on in a pack of 2, so it was actually, what, like 75 cents. So we're just going to keep wrapping the hoop. I put a little dab of glue every once in a while. And then just keep wrapping. When I get to the top there, I'm going to make a loop. I'm not going to trim anything just yet. I'm going to just wrap the rope around the bottom of the loop. And then wrap it around on the other side and put in a little dab of glue. You see me pulling nice and tight on it there. And there's that little bit of glue. Okay, so we have our perch ready. Now for the greenery. So it was just after Christmas last year, I got a bunch of stuff from Michael's, and one of the Christmas arrangements, I just like pulled it apart. And this little branch here is from that. And it's actually wired, so I just wrapped it around the hoop on one side and then bent it to mimic the shape of the hoop. The little birds have little wires on their feet. So I just kind of messed around with it, trying to poke the wires through the little pieces of the branch and wrap it around the back. And it looks so good because you cannot see the wires when all is said and done. So I'm just going to mess around with it a bit there. And it doesn't have to be perfectly centered or anything like that, because you know when you hang things, they hang on odd angles and whatnot. So I just kind of put it in a place where you could see it from front, back, and side. And that's the neat thing about this ornament, is it doesn't really have a back, because it looks good from all angles. And I'm sorry for that ambient noise. I usually get rid of it. And then I have my little leaves and berries here. Those were a thrift store find as well. And I made some ornaments a couple of videos ago with those leaves and berries on top. If you want to go back and watch that, I'll put the link in my description box below. And better look at the final reveal. Ornament number 3 is a wood block cardinal. I'm using this old mistletoe ball that we used to hang at the front door, this cardinal napkin, and some Mod Podge. And that wood block is, it came from a cutting board that I cut up for a previous video about ornaments, and I made some snowmen with them. And if I remember, I'll put the link for that in my description box below. The nice thing about this napkin is it's actually has 4 usable images on it. So the napkin was maybe 2 something, but divide that by 4. And the mistletoe ball is something I've had for years and years and years. So this one cost like pennies to make. So I put a healthy coat of Mod Podge on the front and dried a little bit with my heat gun. Now the wood block is a little bit smaller than I would have liked, but couldn't really find anything else to put it on. Most of the stuff was too big, so I went with the smaller one because I have a lot of other bigger ornaments in this video. That's a little square of parchment paper on the top there. And I gave it a few good passes and double checked that the edges were good, and then let it cool off and came in with a little bit of sandpaper and sanded off the edges. And I love how this looks. I do this all the time, and it never ceases to amaze me how good it looks, like it was meant to be. Now, here's some more rope that I had, and this is different rope than I did with the previous project. I think this one I might have got from Temu, but it's like a whole big thing of rope. So I cut off a length that I thought was long enough, just kind of flying by the seat of my pants here. And what I did is I left a little bit on each side, because I kind of wanted the hangers to be all different. Like I kind of wanted each ornament to have its own unique way to hang on the tree. And so this time, instead of doing a loop, I just brought the 2 lengths of rope together and then wrapped it with some twine. And to affix the rope to the sides of the block, I just used some hot glue. And you'll notice on the back there, I did just a random piece of leftover napkin so that there was something on the bag. Now I'm doing my little greenery embellishment here. These are the mistletoe leaves. And the mistletoe had these little white berries, so I popped those on there instead of the red ones. And I also put a few more leaves on the top of the block and on the back, and better look at the final reveal. Ornament number 4, Joy and Snowflakes. So I'm using my Dollarama letters again, my green chalk paint, this red acrylic paint. I think it's glossier than the regular stuff. I have some leftover Rust-Oleum Linen White chalk paint, this stencil with snowflakes that I used in my previous video. And again, there's the letters from Dollarama. So I'm going to spell out Joy. Joy might be an overused Christmas word, but it fits on this little block. The previous project, I used leftover block, and this is also leftover from the same previous project. I'm going to start things off by a simple coat of white chalk paint. And this actually dries pretty fast when you only do 1 coat like that, so I just set it aside and worked on the letters. I used a little skewer to hold them down, and it works pretty good. It doesn't show up, but you can also just put it to the side of the letter so that the letter doesn't move around. And you'll see how I do it here. You could also put your letters on like a piece of masking tape or painter's tape and just put it on your desk sticky side up. I decided I wanted to put something on the back, and that's where the snowflakes come in. So I chose the green for the background for the snowflakes, and that will be the back of the ornament. And again, I know that sometimes ornaments kind of hang every which way, so I kept in mind that you probably will be able to see the back. And of course, my letter J is a little bit too far away from the side, but I really didn't want to take it off and redo it, so I just went with it. Got those on there with just a little bit of hot glue. Now I flipped it over and I mixed up a little homemade chalk paint paste using that baking soda. And it was like pretty thick, but I just went with it. Oh, and oh my gosh, look at how nice that turned out. Look at that. So I'm going to make it too thick in the future because that looks fantastic. And I did 2 other little ones. So just keep in mind that when you want to use your paint stencils, just make sure you have a good thick chalk paint, and if you don't, just add that baking soda to it. It makes a huge difference. I used my drill here just to drill a pilot hole for the eye hook. And again, I wanted all these ornaments to have a different way of hanging. So this one I used the eye hook. And then I'm just going to take a remnant from like a sparkly red garland and shape it into a hanger. I felt like it needed a little bit something more on the block above the word. So I found this red, I think it's leather lace or lace leather. And I just did a simple shoelace bow and hot glued it on top of the word joy. Then I kind of debated if I wanted to do any embellishments on the back because I knew that they would show. But in the end, I went with it. So first here you see me making that hanger that I told you about. And really, anyone can make a hanger. It's just a small loop on the bottom and a larger loop on top to hang on the tree. So I just hot glued a couple little leftover branches there and a simple twine bow. And it does show through on the front, but it actually looks intentional, so I was happy for that. And there's my hanger. Look at that. I'll give you a better look at the fun reveal. Our last ornament, ornament number 5, is a red barn Christmas greeting. I purchased these gift bags. It was a 3-pack for $1.25. And I had this Dollar Tree house that I probably paid $1 for. I got it so long ago. And then some random ribbon that just happens to have a red barn on it. So just a couple dollars if you wanted to recreate this. I deconstructed one of the gift bags, basically just tore it apart at the seams because I wasn't sure how much of it I was going to use, so I wanted it to come out as untouched as possible. So I cut out one of the images, because there were 2, one on each side. And I actually chose the house because it fit well as far as the width goes, but it was a little bit too tall, and I'm going to work on that. I also noticed there were 2 holes from the hanging ribbon right above the greeting there. So what I did is cut a strip from the other side and put it underneath, and it's the same image as on top, and so when you put it underneath, it literally just covers the holes, and you can't even tell that there was any holes there. It works really well, so that's a good little tip. I used one of my utility knives to get this started, and then I took one of my Cricut spatulas and just ran it along the seam to separate the back of the house from the sides. I figured that instead of spending a lot of time on the back, that wasn't really going to Like I couldn't figure out what to do with it, basically. So I had this wallpaper. I bought a whole bunch of wallpaper. I was making a faux headboard for my daughter, and I had no idea how much I needed, and I was worried I'd go back for more and there wouldn't be any, so I just bought like about 3 or 4 rolls, and I only needed like part of one. So I put that on the back. It's a nice clean look, so if anyone sees it, you know, it'll look intentional. Then I used my drill to drill a hole on top for hanging, but I used a really small bit, so I came back with a larger one. And then I decided to just paint the top of it white there. And then I put down a nice coat of Mod Podge. And this is one of the few times you'll see me working with wet Mod Podge, just because the bag with the image is very thick, and I knew I probably wouldn't get any wrinkles. I just used a paper towel to rub it down, and if there were any wrinkles or folds, that would take care of it. I then used my sandpaper to get off the edges. And I had to come back again with a bigger drill bit, and finally got a hole there that was big enough for my hanging ribbon. And that ribbon is one of the hangers from the bag that I just pulled off and saved. It was a little too long, so I did tie it in a knot and hot glued the knot on the back. And then I just luckily had this really cool Red Barn ribbon that I hadn't even used yet. So we're going Red Barn overboard on this ornament. And I love it. I made a little awareness shape bow. Even though it was small, I was able to do it okay. I kept the ends long because I wasn't sure how they would look when I put them on top there. So I hot glued the ribbon in the back there. Now I'm hot gluing the bow. Then I had a look at how the ribbon looked and decided I was going to dovetail it. So I dovetailed it, fluffed it, and there it is. Better look at the final reveal.